Hello, everybody. My name is Dude BDR. This is Dude Amanda, and this is Dude Oink. You got Redneck, Jordan, and Costin here with me today.
In an episode.
Yeah, finally. Anyway, today we're going to discuss networks and servers, and basically we're gonna give you some definitions. We're gonna go over how to set up a server, how to set up a network, what different kinds of networks, topologies, servers, server uses we got. Just gonna try and summarize it all for you. Hopefully, we could stay in a nice 45-minute frame today.
Not.
Yeah, because I'm the one.
Probably not.
Give me 45 minutes. Not like Redneck's episode that he recorded, where it ended up being like an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours. You know, the mini games episode, where it was just like, yeah, we're gonna end this episode, but then all of a sudden you forgot something. It's like, no,
20 hours later. No. Okay, so first off, let me define servers for you. Okay, based on just my university textbook is what I'm gonna go off here. But a server, they're also very powerful computers in and of themselves. They get their name because they are truly at the service of a network, especially, and they run specialized software known as the network operating system and NOS to maintain and control the network. You have several different types of servers. You have file servers, they store and dispense files. Mail server, which is basically like your email function. It's a post office for your network. Your printer server, which manages all the printers on the network. Your fax server, the memo maker is, as it were, that sends and receives paperless faxes over the network. Your application server, in the name, it manages the applications on the network. Your telephony server, which handles the call center and call routing, can be thought of as basically your network's answering machine. And then your proxy server, which is probably your most common kind. This is my last one. Handles tasks in the place of other machines on the network, particularly the internet connection.
Okay, just going back to what you said about the telephone server or telephony server. They're also known as PBX servers as well. Yeah. That might be another term that's thrown around.
Fancy.
Which stands for phone book exchange, if nobody knew.
Yeah. So first thing, explain for anybody who may not know, why servers are needed.
Okay. Well, first off, hi. First episode. Second of all, dudes asked me to actually come on this episode because I have an actual professional capacity with servers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a bit of the background behind it. Repeat your question a second, dude, because I also have a very short-term memory. So repeat your question.
What are the uses for a server on a network, and why does a network need a server?
Okay, so every single network has a server of some capability. Everything from your home network that will run anything like with your phones, your laptops, etc. They're typically known as DHCP servers. Now, the reason for this is to manage certain aspects of the network. For example, a DHCP server manages a sort of directory of IP address. It's like a phone book of all the devices that are connected to your network. It means when you try and connect from one device to another, it knows where it's routing that traffic on the network.
Can you explain what DHCP or DHCP is? It stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol.
Yeah, there you go. It automatically manages IP addresses.
If you need, I have the definition here. The DHCP is a network management protocol used in the Internet Protocol networks for automatically assigning IP addresses and other communication parameters to devices connected to the network using a client-server architecture. Client-server, explain that.
It's a server for clients.
Where's the client server located? If you don't have a dedicated actual server machine,
definition. There we go.
If you don't have a server machine separate in your home, like in my home, obviously there's a server at work here, but I don't have an actual dedicated server somewhere for my home.
Fix that.
So
what is this client server architecture?
So typically in a home network, for example, for Dude, Redneck, Jordan, and myself, well, maybe not myself, but for everyone else, it's normally in the form of a router, a standalone box that all of your devices connect to. Some of them have Wi-Fi enabled in them, some of them don't. It's very dependent on who makes them, but typically
For
they
all
have
the
Wi-Fi in
Americans
them.
listening, we call that a router.
A router.
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 Because the OU makes the ow sound.
Yeah.
Here.
But
Route.
the router, or the router if you're British, it doesn't just have a DHCP server built into it. It will have things like it will have port forwarding and a firewall built into it as well. Which will
Any
allow for things
gamers
like-
out there who play probably FPS shooters or like I don't know MMOs where you like Dota or MOBAs and stuff like that, you'll know what port
Or even
forwarding
Minecraft.
is.
Or even Minecraft. If you
Yeah.
play Minecraft on PC, you'll have done port forwarding if you set up a server.
Right.
Yep.
So in that regard, if you have messed with port forwarding any at all, then you have initially interacted with your client server architecture built into your home network. It's in your router and it's in the settings. You generally go to your router's default IP address, which is something along the lines of 192.168.01.11.10.02, something along those lines, depending on your
Typically-
manufacturer.
Typically, as well, most client servers that you'll find for your house in devices like routers will normally have a web GUI or a graphical user interface that you can use to interact with it. Many sort of like enterprise stuff or stuff that I use at home uses command line based prompts and uses SSH. Not going to get into SSH because that's neither here nor there right now.
H is H for you Americans listening as well.
H, yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
get a translation software in here, please?
Yeah, we've already got
I
it.
can
It's
get on
Bluetooth.
board with the H portion because it actually gives you the sound of the letter in the pronunciation, but Z,
Z.
Z, 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 Z. You
To
don't
be
need
fair-
the
to
ed
be fair,
part.
It is flippable in UK. Okay, it can be
Yes?
Z and Z.
But no, anyway, so
Derail much?
yeah, so walk us a little bit through the difference in your. Well, okay, I guess not so much a difference. Let's talk about the host as a server is concerned.
That's a very subjective thing actually,
Mhm.
because you can have many hosts.
Yep.
Within an environment. It is very dependent on obviously what services you're running. If you're running a multiple server environment where you've got a DNS server and a DHCP server separate to one another, they will both be separate host devices.
Here's an idea. We'll use gaming lobbies as an example. Okay, let's say for anybody out there, you play Phasmophobia. I think pretty much everybody here has played it at one time.
Yeah.
I'm the sole exception, but yes.
Yeah, this
go
guy.
for it.
He's the weirdo who hasn't played Phasmophobia. Every
Yep.
single other human on the planet has. So,
I'm
To be
weirdo.
honest, I actually thought you had played it. I'm not gonna lie.
but no, basically, and you'll get the concept in really almost any game like this. But a lot of times you'll have the option to join a public game or create a private lobby. If you're creating the private lobby and you do it, you are the lobby's host. You essentially act as a server for those connecting to your lobby.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're using your internet connection along, of course, with their own. But your internet connection is providing the environment, and their internet connection is connecting them to you to play through your environment. And that's
some
what
cases,
a
that is
host
true.
is doing. Yeah,
In
and
some
I'm
cases,
and I'm
that
just
is
talking
true.
about the gaming aspect, just to kind of give it a more at home
Yeah.
feel, you know. And
Because
so
I
this
will say
is
this. I
Yeah,
will say
yeah.
this in terms of gaming. It's not necessarily the person who set up the session that is hosting the session.
right.
It
Not
will
in
be the
not in
person
every
who's
game. Yeah.
Started the server. So even if it's like Call of Duty, like with Jordan, in some cases, like if you're playing custom games, there will be an active server out there that you're connecting to, but it takes someone, i.e. the host, to have kick-started that session off.
Yes.
Basically,
Private servers,
with a game like that, they have hundreds, if not thousands, of little rooms essentially available for you to use. One person sets it up and is like, hey, we're going to use this room. They might get like a lobby code or something, or they'll set up a password for their friends to be able to join it, or for whoever they want to be able to join it, and then they'll be able to join. But you're that person who started the session isn't the host at that point. The host is still on a dedicated server for that game on whatever network they're using, and everybody is still going through that host. But yeah,
dedicated private servers are great for that.
yes.
Somebody else runs it somewhere. A professional hosting company has it, and then you can make changes, modifications, use it on your own, and control it. What are you laughing about?
I just had to mute my mic because my dad just came in the room. And
Was he
was
naked
feeding
again?
The dog. No, he wasn't. He
Okay.
wasn't.
Yeah, close
Was he
on this
bringing a
time.
beer delivery?
Okay, so
He's bringing all the brews from the pub.
Nate, give us a couple of examples of different kinds of servers. Basically, like in the list that I named, give us some examples for their specific purpose in a network.
Well, was that me? I was
Yeah.
talking to my dad for a moment then.
Yeah, you.
Yeah. So, are we talking? Do you want like from an enterprise standpoint, or do you want like for what it could be used like within a home network?
Let's say that let's say you work for a company, okay, and in this company you have a 2-story building, and there's 30 computers on a network, and you have 3 servers set up. What services would these servers most likely be providing, and why?
Okay, so the first one will be, as I said earlier, a DHCP server. It'll manage all of the networks or VLANs or virtual local area networks. They'll basically allow each other.
We're
to
boring,
connect to each
Jordan.
other. Yeah, sorry, Jordan. Sorry. I know this isn't your area here.
No, I was on an early today. I've been up since fucking 4 in the morning.
What?
Oh,
It's
bloody hell.
fine.
Why?
I'll just mail order some brews to you to keep you awake.
I thought you were
I'll
about
call-
to say
I'll
you'll
call the
mail
nearby
order
pub.
him a bride. I was about to be like, wait, what?
Nope.
Hey, she's
That's
willing
your
to keep
job,
me
dude.
awake.
Hey, they come with a lot of money sometimes.
Hey, I do. I could always do with money.
If it ever comes down to that, costing, mail order bride. They give them a lot of perks. A lot of perks.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Back to the
Isn't there an
conversation.
ODD
at hand.
No, this was an important side note, okay? Sidebar. This is a very important thing, okay?
If anything,
To
I think
helping
this
my
is more
bros
important.
find
No.
love.
No,
Alright,
this
yeah.
is very important, okay, because it is a function of how a server will work, because you'll have to connect to a server in order to order your mail order bride.
There you go. There you go.
True. Also have to connect to a server if you want to place an order for brews to be delivered to
Yeah.
Jordan's house.
Or
They're
if you're
known
just
as
gonna go old
HTTP
school
servers.
and
Web
watch
servers.
some Pornhub.
Yeah.
That's
But anyway, yeah.
also neat to me.
Back to the conversation that we're meant to be having. Sorry, Jordan. I know we're trying to find you love, but that can wait until Textra Talks.
Looking for
Oh,
love
come
in
on.
all
That
the
could be a
wrong
special Textra Talks
places.
episode.
Oh, jeez.
Textra Talks, we find Jordan love.
Right here, camera. Stop
In
that.
all the wrong places.
But yeah. Anyway,
Topical.
so,
You have a stormtrooper helmet behind you. Looking for love in Alderaan places.
Yep.
All right. As you wear a costume.
Well, Stormtrooper can't hit it, so
Yeah. Anyway, where were we?
Servers.
Derail
3
Central!
servers in a. There you go. Okay.
So the first one, again, it's very dependent though on whether you're running a Linux or a Windows environment. Okay.
More than likely
Just
gonna
saying.
be Windows because it's a bigness.
Okay, that's fine. So, the first server would typically be a DHCP server, would control all of the IP addresses on the network. Sometimes we'll have VLANs so that you can separate different floors onto separate sort of like subnets of addresses. So you can like connect each floor to each other, but they can't access each other's floors. Like that would work in like multi-story businesses where you got different department on each floor. Then you would also have a DNS server, which is also on site, which will resolve domain names. That's important for the next section, which is Active Directory. Get to that in a second. DNS is basically effectively like a phone book. You know, Dude will probably remember these from when he was younger. So will Redneck. Jordan might as well, because they were around when we were growing up.
They're still around now.
Yeah.
They were good for
Are
hitting
they?
people with too.
Yeah. Nobody uses them, but yeah, they're around.
Jeez. But yeah,
Mhm.
imagine like a massive phone book, and it's got every single IP address of every single computer on the internet.
Sidebar,
But
for
it's-
anybody who's like, I don't know, 12 or younger, 15 or younger, a phone book, kids, is this giant, massive book that would sometimes get left on your doorstep. And it has a whole bunch of yellow
if you
pages
got
in
your
it and a
fuck
whole
around
bunch of
open
white pages in it. And basically, that thing right there had a list of everybody within your city or town with a publicized phone number. And you could just straight up call them up. The yellow pages had businesses and stuff of different kinds. And sometimes you'd have green pages in the very back for alternate services like trash and all that kind of junk. But yeah, phone books, man.
But
Yep.
yeah,
They used to be a
And they
thing.
could be fairly thin if you were in a small area to
They're like 4
um,
inches thick.
like Encyclopedia Britannica
Yeah.
levels.
Like where I grew up
yeah.
in Bradenton, Florida, sometimes you would actually get a localized phone book where it would be a certain thickness, but it would only be for like your quarter of the city
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people in Bradenton.
Yeah, we got those as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gra-
it was
the
always
grandfather
fun
phone
finding
book, yeah.
extra uses for them because it's like once you got the
Put it
new one,
underneath the leg
the
of
old
a
one was
table.
useless. Yep. Use it to level a table.
You just rip
Um,
it down the spine a couple times, get that right length of booklet, and then you just get the sugar packets,
Yep.
man.
Get hit by the parents with it, you know, and you've been misbehaving.
No, they use something. No, Dad had a nice thick leather belt for that.
Oh, you had the leather belt.
I got
All
no
right.
comment for that kind of thing.
Way off
Whatever.
track. Back to the
Yes.
DNS phone book service. Yeah.
Hey, at
Yeah,
least
how
with
the
the
hell you
DNS phone book service server, you don't have to worry about somebody throwing it at you.
That is true.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, actually,
or
I have a
or
DNS
have to
server
replace it
outside
every
him.
year.
I mean,
I
if
have
you
a
have a
DNS server
physical
here,
server, somebody
it's a
could probably
2U
pick it up
server.
and throw it at you. But
I was just
Well,
about to
here's the
say,
thing.
I have a
You don't have
2U
to-
server outside.
if
that
you're
is
to that
literally
point,
a DNS server for my house.
you
and I'm
have
like,
greater worries.
You also don't have to worry about having to replace it every year.
And it's a whole
True.
lot less painful.
Yeah.
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 Unfortunately, though, the
I
new
mean,
version
that's,
is not free like the old one was.
That's okay. I don't have a concussion anymore, so I'm fine.
It's fine. You get over it eventually.
I just don't remember happened before then.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's get back on topic.
Yeah, details, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So DNS is basically like a massive phone book, or a DNS server is. So every single web address that you type into your browser, Facebook.com, Google.com, Microsoft.com, Apple.com, etc., they all relate to a specific IP address on the internet, a string of numbers. And basically, a DNS server is like a massive phone book of all these numbers that match it to the web address. So when you type in the web address, it knows where to route that traffic to. Is that a good enough explanation for you?
Works. Doggo. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Doggo.
And now I would like for you to kind of walk us through setting up an actual physical server, how you would do it, what you would need, the different ways to do it, just a couple different ways of doing it. Like whether or not you're going to use a RAID system, all kinds of things.
Yeah, that one is again the problem with servers is it's very subjective to needs. For example, if you just need a file server, a Linux system will do you fine. Something like FreeNAS, absolutely fine. Okay.
Again, let's
But if
just
you wanna
we'll
go-
go off of
if you
that
wanna
that
go
example
into
I gave
full-on
before.
things, you know.
The
So
the
we're
30
going
computers,
30 yeah.
3 different servers, 2-story building.
Okay, so you'd obviously get a USB stick, and you'd make sure that it had the OS on it. There you go, like what dude's got in his hand.
64 gigabyte SanDisk. Who's your glide?
Hey, man,
Now,
this one's been-
the-
shit.
The example that we're using is based on Windows Server. There are good Linux operating systems out there. If you want to do some research, do it yourself. I am not inclined to talk about that because I'm a Windows Server professional, not a Linux professional. Just to make this clear.
Fair.
Anyway, yeah, you just install Windows Server as if you would any other normal Windows operating system. But be aware, when it comes to actually selecting the OS version, there are 2 states. You've got the normal mode, which is command line only, or you've got what's known as desktop experience, which enables the GUI, which is what most businesses use anyway because it's easier to manage with a GUI.
GUI is the GUI, graphical user interface.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, you do all that. Once you set up your username, password, it will literally bring you up on Windows Server a server manager sort of application window. You go in there.
A good example of a GUI, by the way. Sorry, a good example of a GUI, by the way, would be like the Twitch desktop interface. Rather than going to the website, you have a graphical user interface where you can interact with Twitch without going through the web browser. It's got its own dedicated graphical
Incorrect.
user interface.
Incorrect. Anything that has buttons and is user interactable is a GUI. Anything that
yeah,
does
I,
not
I was
require,
I was
anything
I
that
was
doesn't
referring to a
require
standalone.
text. Yeah, but I'm just saying, pretty much everything's a GUI if it's got buttons and is pretty to look at and user friendly. If you have to
So
type a lot
like
of
the
letters and words,
Twitch.
website
Application.
and the website. Most
So
websites.
the application is a GUI. Yes, I wasn't saying that that's the only kind of GUI. I'm saying that that is an example of a GUI. Anyway,
You're a GUI.
Yeah. Anyway.
You're a GUI.
if you're out there listening to this, don't get yourself a British friend, okay? They be
Wow.
cunts.
Wow.
Eating
Wow.
it,
They be cunts.
Wow.
I'm eating here. Come on, man.
I come back to this. Fuck you.
Anyway,
Welcome back to the bullshit. You should have been here for a while now.
To be fair,
unless
the
unless
episode
you
I
get
had
you
to edit
one,
last week.
unless you get you a British friend like the one on my screen, the one that's further over that way, like hop over the cunt in the middle and go to the cunt on the end.
See, on my screen, they're both to the other side, so I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
Okay, here for
We're
anybody
talking
on
to
Redneck's
Jordan.
screen,
Oh.
that guy. Wait, not this one, not this
Him.
guy. That one.
You're both pointing at each other for
Oh, no,
me.
Ben, that way then. That way.
There you go.
I was like, it's meant to be or some shit. Whoa.
This guy.
Here,
It's
here.
like
On my screen. Okay, you can't see the cursor. Just a second. Okay, I'll change that. Capture cursor. Done. All right, this guy right here. Fuck, it's still not capturing.
Does
Whatever.
we need to
Either way.
elaborate, or do we really need to elaborate?
The guy with the red chair and the red mic and the blue headphones and the long hair that makes
Papa
him look
Olympic,
like
okay?
that makes him
Jesus.
look like some kind of rock
Jesus.
star. I don't know. Yeah, Jesus.
Jesus.
We'll go with Jesus.
I can tell you right now that
Say it again.
people who are listening to the podcast are going to be like, I still don't know what the fuck you're
You'd be
talking
even
about.
more confused.
Go
Hey,
check
look,
this out
guys.
on YouTube.
Go.
You can watch the shenanigans live almost.
Oh.
And what is that monstrosity's name?
Just a oinky.
Yeah.
It's a oink.
Like,
Buddy.
yeah. He's the adorable.
Why do I feel like there's going to be a lot of this episode cut out in post edit?
I don't know. You're the one who does the editing, so that's on you,
Yeah.
buddy.
I don't know what they talk about. Like, they're crazy, huh, buddy?
Anyway, to kind of
anyway.
get back on.
Yeah, so you've installed the OS, you got the configure Windows, the server manager thing. There is literally useful links. It's pretty much self-explanatory nowadays in Windows Server. Before you had to know what you were doing in like Server 2008 R2 and before. But from 2012 onwards, there was a helpful server manager that literally told you everything that you could do. Like it was pretty much self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Things like setting up the DHCP server, DNS, everything. It literally has step-by-step instructions on it. Yeah, we need Phil. Phil, Redman.
You're not gonna get attention. Don't do it. Come on.
Hold on.
Well,
if we
I guess
say
that's it
atrocity
for
3
today's
times
episode,
fast-
guys. We'll cover networks some other time.
Phil.
Phil,
All right, I'll do it with you.
I
now.
really thought he would be here by now.
if you say atrocity 3 times in the mirror, he stands behind you.
Biggie Smalls, Biggie Smalls,
Yeah,
Biggie
Dave's
Smalls.
That's
Warning.
horror movie style.
Well, it is Halloween that we're recording this, so
True.
Oh yeah, it is Halloween, isn't
Why I'm
it?
wearing this. Not to mention the fact it's also comfortable.
What is that?
All right, so I'll just get started on explaining a network. Okay.
The mercenary jacket from Devil May Cry.
Oh,
and then
You
I guess we'll get to
cosplaying?
So
questions
it's
about
the
the
reverse
shit.
color scheme of Dante's, which
Yeah.
is black on the inside, red on the out. It's reversed.
Yeah, I can see it now. That's dope. Dude.
Why is my camera? It loses frames every time it tries to refocus. It doesn't need to
No, it's done
refocus
it
because
on-
I haven't lost depth.
The
Anyway,
thing is, I don't know. It's done it on my screen as well.
a network.
Mm,
I don't know.
What is a network? Well,
Me.
the directory defines the dictionary defines the word network as a group or systems of interconnected people or things. Similarly, in the computer world, the term network means two or more connected computers that can share resources such as data and applications, office machines, and internet connection, or some combination of these.
Or porn. Sorry.
Probably your most common type of network is going to be a LAN, an LAN, local area network. Just as the name implies, local, it is usually restricted to spanning a particular geographic location, such as an office building, a single home, a department within a corporate office, or even just a home office. Typically, on a local area network, you will have general limitations as to how many connections can be made at a time without absolutely destroying your connectivity. Like most people will notice that if you have in-home internet and you've got, I don't know, say you've got 300 up or down speed, you're gonna notice that having like 12 devices connected all at one time is going to really hurt your performance. Whereas, like with my home network, we have gig speed. That's gigabit, not gigabyte. That'd be insane. With gigabit speed.
Just for those that don't know, 10 gigabits is roughly around 1 gigabyte a second.
Yeah. So what we have here, I'm able to connect. Let's see. Currently, off the top of my head, let's see. We got 1, 2, 3 phones, 2 tablets, a laptop, 1, 2, 3, 4 TVs. My computer's hardline, so I don't really count that all that much. And what else? Probably a couple other odd and end things.
If we
Connected
if
to
we
our
counted
Wi-Fi.
Hardwired things, it's literally mine and my dad's phone.
Uh, But yeah, those things connected to our Wi-Fi current, and we don't experience any difficulty amongst the network. Every now and then, you get your little spikes up and down in performance, but that's completely dependent on the ISP, internet service provider, and not so much your actual connection. My Ethernet connection, which is the connection that I use with an Ethernet cable to my RJ45 ports from the router, which is all the way over in this corner, to my computer, which is all the way over in this corner. I have a 30-foot cable running behind the bed, down the wall right here, and up to the back of my computer. I experience zero lag on it. It is a Cat 6A, I think. Might be, yeah, 6A.
It could be 6A,
At
6,
least.
or 6E. It's one of them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 6A. I was trying to remember whether it was 6 or 6A, but I'm pretty sure it's 6A. But yeah, that's my Ethernet connection, and I don't experience any lag on my local area network. Now, you also have probably seen the acronym WAN, a WAN, or a wide area network. A wide area network, probably the most common one that practically everyone interacts with on a daily basis, is the internet. The internet itself is a wide area network. Well, how wide is it? It's global.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, if you a lot of the time, if you look on the back of your router, if you're American, you'll typically have 4 LAN ports, but then 1 WAN port, and your WAN port will connect to your cable modem.
Now, there's a lot of different like hair splitting over what makes a WAN a WAN. You have these ultra WANs like the internet, the ones that expand basically to engulf the globe. Some of them will be over an entire country, like you have China's
The best way
wall.
to visualize a WAN is it's a collection of local area networks all under one bridge.
Essentially, yes. And basically your WAN can be split up into different little LANs, just the same way as your LAN can be split up into multiple separate connections, where you have it going, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, all this. Come on, camera. It messing around on me.
I'll be honest, it wasn't your camera. As soon as Kinku had turned in, turned his camera on, that was it. It just went to crap. I'm blaming Discord.
I'm pretty sure it's Discord because I haven't had issues with it yet. But in your LAN, your local area network, you will have a couple different things going on. Most of the time, you're going to have in any kind of like multiple computer network, you'll have like say you'll have your servers. You'll have those going to like hubs or switches or a router, which goes to hubs or switches, which then goes to your workstations, your computers, your hosts, if you will, on each different connection. Now, sometimes you'll have them separated, maybe like by department, where you'll have like sales or accounting or marketing or customer service, and all these will be connected with themselves via a hub, where if one computer stores or sends information across their link on a hub, every computer connected to that hub or anything connected to that hub will get a copy of that information. Where with a switch,
saying earlier with VLANs as well,
right? We'll get to the VLAN in just a second. Whereas with a switch, it identifies each computer on the network by, I believe the switch uses an IP address, or it might be a MAC address. I don't exactly remember. But it identifies each computer separately, and you can choose who, what, or where to send that information to on a switch, in the network on a switch. where sometimes what you'll have is you'll have your group of computers, you'll have those connected to a hub, which is then connected to a switch. Now, sometimes what you can do is if you need to go interdepartmental, you go through that hub to the switch. And that switch determines what department it needs to go to, sends it through the router to switch to that department. That department's switch determines, okay, it needs to go to this group or this area, sends it to that hub, which sends it to a multitude of computers there, and the first one who's able to get to it will be able to get to it and service the account in any kind of way that needs to be serviced.
We'll just add to what Dude's saying as well. Hubs are typically not really used in enterprise settings anymore.
Yeah.
Because typically, as I said, and Dude's probably going to get to in a minute, VLANs are more commonly used nowadays.
Yeah. Let me find my VLAN section here. Past the wide area network, MPLs, peer-to-peer. Ooh. Now, before I get to that, actually, I will talk about physical network topologies. And really, I'm only going to mention 3. One of them, completely useless anymore. It's called a ring topology. Basically, in this topology, you have your system of computers that are all connected one to the next. If one computer in this situation goes down, all the data stops. Useless kind of network. You have then a mesh network, which has a multitude. It's a really, really good network because on this network you have multitudes of connections coming through to each computer or point on the network, and data can be shared between all of them interconnectively and no interruptions. If one computer or device goes down, you still have connection between everything else. And then you have a star connection, which is your most common, which is probably going to be the one that you see used the most, which is going to be, you got your hub or your central communication device. You have all the devices connected to it. One device can send information out to all the other ones. If one goes down, all the other ones can send information out to themselves still. But then moving right along, got to get through all this fluff here. Oh, we lost Costin.
Don't worry about it. It's my camera being a jerk.
I mean, if you want to talk for a second about SANs and CANs, you can talk about those as well. Campus area network and a storage area network, if you would like, while I'm looking for the video.
Not particularly. But you clearly want me to. But I don't want to.
Going way down. You know what? How about you just talk about VLANs while I look for the information on it over here as well? That might actually bridge the gap here.
Yeah. So in essence, a VLAN, also known as a virtual local area network, can actually be okay. My mind's going blank now. This is great.
Virtual local area network.
I'm doing great at explaining this, guys.
Yep.
Come on, you can do it. Come on.
Yeah, so you can basically have multiple subnets of IP addresses all under one massive network. Each of the VLANs can operate within each other. So one VLAN can communicate with another VLAN, but they are in and of themselves their own network connection. So
okay, I have my my information
here.
if that'll help.
Do it. I was just covering dead air. I'll be honest with you, my mind has turned to jelly because I've been so busy.
VLAN or virtual local area network is a logical subnetwork that groups a collection of devices from different physical local area networks. Large business computer networks often set up VLANs to repartition a network for improvement improved traffic management. Several kinds of physical networks support virtual LANs or VLANs, including Ethernet and Wi-Fi. They are helpful. They are useful for, when set up correctly, VLANs improve the performance of busy networks. VLANs can group client devices that communicate frequently with each other. The traffic among devices split across two or more physical networks is usually handled by a network's core routers. With a VLAN, that traffic is handled more efficiently by network switches. Essentially, what you're getting here is, instead of having to put all this information and all this traffic through your physical devices, if you will, within the network itself, you have basically this rerouted, repartitioned section. It's a virtual local area network where everything can be sent, and all the it's deterministic. It's predetermined what kind of information and everything will go through these VLANs to get around having to use up all the bandwidth on that local area network for, like, say, your business, and you're able to efficiently and more speedily communicate with this auxiliary type of information, so that you aren't clogging up your network, so to speak. So you have faster, better communications over different types of networks.
In some network cases as well, some people will, or some companies will use VLANs for other reasons, such as they've got thousands of devices connecting to one network. So obviously, as you know, or as many people will probably know, IP addresses are limited to 254 per subnet. So if you've got 192.168.1, you can only go from 1 to 254. You can connect a maximum of 254 devices within that subnet.
You can go from 0 to 254.
0 is the broadcast.
Exactly. You can still,
Anyway.
you can only connect 254. Yes, but zero isn't. But anyway,
technically,
if you were curious, because this is kind of part of the episode, setting up a VLAN. At a high level, network administrators set up new VLANs as follows. You choose a valid VLAN number. You choose a private IP address range for the devices on that VLAN to use, which is what Cosmos was talking about. The range is that number. We were talking about 154 different devices. Well, you can choose what your range is by selecting, okay, I have X amount of devices I'm going to use, from 26 to 83 is going to be my range, and that's how many devices I have. I'm going to separate them out on that. Basically, you could be like, okay, anything from 26 to 35 is going to be this department. Anything from 36 to 41 is going to be this department, and so on. You get the idea. Configure the switch device with either static or dynamic settings. We won't discuss that here. In static configurations, the administrator assigns a VLAN number to each switch port.
A quick explanation.
Let me finish the sentence. In dynamic configurations, the administrator assigns a list of MAC addresses or usernames of VLAN to a VLAN number. Go ahead.
So the difference between dynamic and static. Dynamic, it will automatically collect the information from a host or a server. Static means that it's it's exactly what it says. Static. There's configuration involved, but it doesn't automatically get it. There you go. Done.
And then step 4, which is your final step here, configure the routing between VLANs as needed. Configuring 2 or more VLANs to communicate with each other requires the use of either a VLAN-aware router or a layer 3 switch. I won't get into the different layers of an OSI model currently, because that is a completely different subject to get into. And Phil is still not here, so I guess we won't really go over setting up a whole network and breaking that down. But basically, most
people just need to be concerned with RJ45 or copper cabling, which is your typical Ethernet, and fiber optic. Those are the two typical connections that you're going to find on a network.
You're probably not going to connect the fiber optic directly to your computer, though.
Oh no.
But either way,
No.
that again, if Phil were here, he would explain that, but we're not going to get into that because
Might
on
have
it.
to have him record it separately
yes.
and have like a part 2.
Oh my god.
And
TekTox
also,
money.
Phil was supposed to do the outro today, but I guess I will do that as well. That's fine. All right, guys. So today we went over servers and a little bit of networks. We talked about what a server is, what kind of servers there are, how many different ways you could set up a server, how many different uh, uses there are for a server on a network. Then we talked about how to, I guess not really how to set up a network, which was what we're supposed to talk about. We talked about a little bit about what kind of networks there are, what kind of uses each network would be put to, and the different kinds of, I guess, I don't want to say layers because that's a different definition, but layers. There are to these networks, what kind of uh, routing and directing of traffic, if you will, you can do within these networks. Um, we will try and get Phil to maybe do a little quick follow up on setting up a network, or even do a mini or an article on setting up a network. Phil, for those of you who know Atrocity here with us, he does network setups commercially as his job. So he's got on site, hands on information on that he could share with everybody and to explain in depth with you on that. But this week's tech
I
item.
actually have it.
Oh,
Yes, I have I have a tech item of the week, if you wish. It's a topical tech item of the week.
okay.
Ubiquity PoE switches. They're actually really, really handy, actually. PoE stands for Power over Ethernet. You can power devices over the Ethernet cable without needing a separate power supply. Typically used for low power devices such as Wi-Fi access points, etc. They are expensive,
What?
so don't think you're gonna just be able to drop like a spare $300-400 dollars, pounds, whatever money you've got on one. It's not one for someone at home, but definitely something that you might want to look into, especially if you're running CCTV cameras.
My tech item of the week was going to be a Western Digital MyBook. It's an external hard drive. I have a 4 terabyte. It is up above my computer right now. I can't really get it down because of all the stuff in the way. Got a monitor up there and all this kind of stuff. But it is a great
Cables.
device to have for if you want to store things like larger files, like your movies or separate games that you may not necessarily need all that much speed for. Like if you're going to play a game like, I don't know, Tomb Raider, put that on your large external hard drive. You don't really have to rely on a whole bunch of loading speeds to get in and out of matches or anything like that quickly. Good to have for things like storing TV shows or movies or large files that you've done for projects. Things like what we do here, where we have audio files and video files to save. You don't want to put that all on your computer, bog down your SSDs and such. So you get this external hard drive, be able to put all your big files on it, things that would necessarily fill up your computer and just make it slow as molasses running uphill in the winter. There's your southern metaphor.
Yeah,
Using
I
it
actually
now.
use
Using it now.
I actually use one for video editing for TekTox.
There you go. All right,
Oh,
guys.
I like that.
That has been TekTox, and we will talk to you next time, where we will have a special guest on, and will be me and Redneck and a special guest. His name is Zach, or Ravens is his screen name, username, profile name, display name, call it. And he will be talking to us about setting up home theaters. He does this commercially as his job, and he's got some good hands-on experience with that. And he's going to talk to us about it, maybe even show us a little bit of his work, and he'll just basically break down and discuss all the nitty gritty that goes into doing this and how you can turn your home into a theater better than your local cinema. That is all from us, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Awesome sauce.